Good morning, my friends. Welcome to today's training. Today's training is another episode in the Discovering the Real You series, where we're really focused on what we do after we've restored our safety, sanity, and our sense of rooted self. Now where do we go? Well, we've got to continue to discover who we really are so that we can advance beyond codependency and more into self-respect and self-actualization, meaning we get to live and do life on our terms. So I'm excited to have you here. If you're new to me, welcome. I'm Burtcher, and I help codependents rediscover their well-being and happiness and create satisfaction in their life by first restoring their safety, sanity, and self, and then coming to know, love, and live who they are, and then assisting them in creating happy, healthy, satisfying relationships in their lives. So that's what I do. Before we get started, I need to share this out to the community here on Facebook. The community is where you can find tools, guidance, and support in your journey beyond codependency and into your true self, into your own well-being and happiness. The link is above on Facebook, and if you're on YouTube, that link is below in the description. And also hit subscribe on that button, and guys, share this out to people you know can benefit from this. You think that, hey, Marshall could help them here, or this could really add to their well-being and happiness. So let's get that shared out here real quick. Let me know how you guys are doing in the comments below as I clicky on the thingies. There's the thing. Yay. Okay. So good morning again. So freeing your worth from transactionalism. So codependency, we are conditioned into something I call external orientation, meaning I see my value through the other person, through their eyes, through their opinion, through whatever it is they think and they say about me. It then defines me. So their perspective is the definition of me. I internalize their point of view as truth about myself. I am not technically I'm not individuated from them. I am not differentiated from their opinion. I don't have my own sense of self. My sense of self is contingent on this other person. And we do this in codependency as a means to surviving the seduction, abuse, discard cycle that we go through with narcissistic individuals. And this assists us in helping us navigate our sense of self, because we basically learned growing up that we're not safe to be who we are. If we be who we are, we get attacked, we get gaslit, we get put down, we get shamed, we get abused in some fashion, and that's we don't want to go through that again, right? And so we discard ourselves, we void ourselves of our own identity, and we seek who we should be through the eyes of another person, in order to become appealing to that individual in hopes that they will keep us around, that they will love us, and that ultimately we can survive. That's the real meta behind why we are externally oriented and why we're trapped in what's called transactional value. Because transactional value is really, it's the hitch we're all attached to in this. It's the big challenge we face as we exit codependency and enter our own differentiated or individualized self, where we can identify ourselves from someone else. We can identify our value from what we do, from what we think, from what we feel, and from their opinions, from their approval, from their rejection. And that's the trick here. That's the journey, is coming into a sense of individuated value or differentiated worth from someone else's approval or rejection. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, let's talk about transactionalism. So transactionalism is basically earning love, where you chase love and you get out there and you try to make it happen by pleasing that person, by becoming the person you think they want you to be, or that you think will make you lovable to them, and that they'll keep you. So transactionalism is basically, I give you this, I get that in response. It's a lot like going to the store and buying a donut. Give them $1, they give me a donut. It's transactional. And if our value is built on this kind of transactional experience of earning love or proving our worth or trying to demonstrate that we are really lovable and they ought to love us, then we are controlled by their approval and by their rejection. We are controlled by their feelings, by their expressions, by their attitudes, by their emotional states. They hold the power over us. So we can swing up and down real fast in our sense of worth, in our sense of security and safety, our sense of identity. It's all very unstable for us because, well, they're in control and they're doing this, so we're doing this. And this transactional experience of value keeps us hooked on them because we get really big bursts of euphoria, of joy, of love, of being seen and valued when they actually see and value us in some way. Like they are grateful for the cookie we gave them, or they give us a breadcrumb of love, that kind of thing. And then we're devastated when they reject us, or they pull away, or they're not interested in something we're doing, or they're ignoring us, or they're attacking, abusing, or harming us in some way. We're going through what's called the EDD cycle, euphoria, distress, despair there. And this is where our value is either peaked or plummeted to the earth, up and down. That's transactional value. Transactional value is contingent on what the other person thinks and feels about you. And that's based on this external orientation of defining who we are through their point of view. Now we got to free ourselves from this. And this is a journey. It's a journey that first starts with restoring safety, sanity, and self. It starts with the foundation of being safe, being able to know what's real, and then being able to identify or differentiate self. And then it expands from there into rooting ourselves in what I call innate value. Innate value is basically the opposite of transactional value. Innate value is all about because I exist, I have inherent worth. I am worthy, period. I have worth, period. That's it. Innate value is something that is sacred. It's within us. It's it's part of our DNA. The trick here with innate value is that we are not conditioned to attune to it. Where being externally oriented, we seek our value through approval and rejection, right? Well, internal or innate value is discovered through what's called internal orientation. That is being attuned or in connection to ourself. An innate value is typically somatic, meaning it's felt, it's sensed, it's within the body. An innate value often shows up as clarity, whether of a joy, a sense of wholeness, a clarity about self, even an expression of innate value that's common, especially as we emerge into it, is anger. Anger about how we've been harmed, a defense for ourself. Innate value is about self-respect. It's about this, I am valued and I'm going to protect it. I am going to treat it with value, importance, and priority. The innate value emerges from within us as we attune to ourselves and shed all the programming of shame, of guilt, of being flawed, of being, limited, or not limited, but a burden, not being enough. When we start to give ourselves permission to let go of those things, or at least set them aside and discover who we are beyond them, we open up the space to discover our own innate value and begin tuning into it and then rooting ourselves into it. Because there's one thing we tend to do a lot is we tend to ground into things, like I'm going to ground into my body, but then we get pulled out of it because we're not actually rooted in it. Much like a tree roots into the earth, we need to root into our value, our innate value, which somatically for me is this space of peace and joy and clarity. There's deep rest there. Because there's no more seeking. There's no more chasing. There's no more running. There's no more earning. There's no more efforting for my value. Instead, when I'm in that space and aligned to it, the behaviors, the actions I take in my world come from more of an inspiration about what I want to contribute and experience. They're not oriented towards getting something like value. They're oriented towards discovering what happens and discovering who I am in that thing. We become really, really free to be who we are and to discover who we are repeatedly, because we're evolving, we're growing. So who we were a year ago may not align with where we want to be today. So we get to discover who we are now and who we want to be in this present situation. This is how we start freeing ourselves from transactionalism, as we stop playing in the game of transactionalism. We stop chasing. We stop trying to earn it or prove it or demonstrate our value. Instead, we come in and we start aligning with our value, our voice, and our vision, which aligns us with who we are. This is how we come to know who we are, love who we are, and live who we are. Basically, we're maturing into who we really be. That allows us to really, go out and create things that we really want to do and enjoy in our world. Callista says, the feeling of needing to earn is pretty strong, really tough. I feel unworthy of any good attention towards me. Yeah, because you're dealing with that transactionalism. You have been taught to believe that you have to earn that. And this is, if you're dealt with a narcissistic system, parent, family, relationship in your world, that's where this is rooted from. So what would it be like if that was false? What if we didn't have to earn it? What else becomes possible to us now? What if our innate value is the solution we've been looking for, the guide in our lives? A lot of times, as we exit codependency, we're really, really lost. We're lost to ourselves, we're lost to others, we're lost to what we want, what our purpose is. Innate value will provide those answers because they're within you. And then the really tough aspect of that is actually learning to let go of the approval and learning to trust, lean into trusting ourself, connecting with ourself, and standing in our own value, our own worth, in our own skin, and rooting into that value. That's what it's about. And there is some real adventure here. There's some real risk that shows up because existing relationships are going to change because we've changed. We're going to stop trying to control approval and rejection, and we're going to start looking at how people treat us instead and seeing it based on that pattern of behavior, results, and impact they create in our world, whether or not we want them there, whether or not they deserve to be there. Because does the pattern, behavior, results, and impact align and treat our worth and our person with respect, with value and importance and priority? If not, they ought not be in your world. See, we're no longer chasing relationship. We're choosing relationship. We are actively living from our own personal sovereignty and authority and choosing who gets to be in our world and who doesn't, based on how they treat us, based on how it feels for us, based on what we need and we want for our well-being, for our happiness. And that is rooted in value, in being attuned to knowing and then feeling and then living that innate value. This is how we break free of our transactional sense of worth. It is a practice. It is a journey. It is definitely not an event, because you're going to encounter this over and over in different areas in your world. And so this is the process. We attune back to our value. We differentiate it from their approval and their rejection. We retrieve it, basically. We integrate it. And we practice activating that experience with us and then tuning to it and listening to who we are there and following the guidance that emerges. That That's how we do it. Now, if you want assistance in doing this, the Know Yourself strategy that's open for enrollment, early bird enrollment right now, is how I help you do that. Because I take you through discovering your own voice, your own value, and your own vision, and attuning to those things over 16 modules or 16 weeks there. And it's all focused on innate value, voice, and vision, helping you attune to yourself. So you know what your boundaries are, you know what you want and what you don't want, where you feel grounded and rooted in your innate value, and you're able to make choices from it and see situations through that lens so you can make choices that make sense for you in it. And you're no longer being controlled by the fear of rejection or approval. Instead, you're being guided by your own brilliance and your own wisdom. So that is open for early bird enrollment. The link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. And there's a special promotion with that, because if you enroll in this early bird enrollment, you also get access to the Relationship Essentials course that teaches you how to create connection, cooperation, and comprehension in your relationships so you can achieve more satisfaction in them. So you get that all for one simple price. So that's above on Facebook, below on YouTube. But ultimately, innate value is where it starts. We have to understand what it is, tune to it, and start living through it, and it'll prove itself. Because the happiness you're seeking, the fulfillment you're seeking, the relationships you're seeking in your world, the purpose, the guidance, the confidence, it all starts there. Because your sense of value governs all of that. It governs what you'll allow into your world, what you allow yourself to see, what opportunities and risks you're willing to take, what you're willing to receive from others, what you're willing to believe you're capable of having, of being, and doing in your world. And if we come and practice being rooted into our innate worth, where we are alive and full and of joy, then yeah, we're going to win. We're going to succeed in the things we desire long term. But it's got to come from there. And you got to know how to go there. So that's how we do it. Thank you guys for showing up for today's training. I appreciate you. Remember that you are worth knowing, loving, and keeping. Go safely with yourselves out there, and I will see you guys in our next training.